Okay, good evening. I'm your warm-up speaker, I think. You'll hear from some great people later on tonight. But my name is Bryn. I'm the co-founder and CEO of DOUBL. And at DOUBL, we're connecting clothing retailers with the data they've always been missing, which is consumer body data, so that they can have a more profitable business model. And I'm here to talk to you about pivoting. So my qualifications include ChatGPT telling me that I was most likely to pivot before breakfast. So that's my qualification. And a bit about our story. So my co-founder and I, Jess, met in business school over 10 years ago now. And we, as part of our business school, had to do a new venture project. That might out me as to where I went to school, if anybody here is an HBA grad. And for a new venture project, you have to come up with a business idea, and we were looking at issues, and we looked at the garment industry, and the garment industry is based very much on guesswork. So you don't know necessarily who's gonna buy your apparel items, but you place an order, you manufacture everything, you put it online or in a store, you hope people buy it, they try it, they maybe return it, and it's a big mess. And we were a group of women in our project, and we were looking at one of the worst items to fit, which I won't ask the audience because I don't think most of you have worn one, but it's the bra. So we started off with this idea to make made-to-measure bras. And that's us at one of our factories. We went through a bunch of factories, a bunch of pattern makers, a bunch of people, a bunch of prototypes. And after 4 years, we finally launched the product on Kickstarter. In 5 weeks, we did $30,000 in sales. We were pretty excited about that. It wasn't the $1 million of nicks, but felt like a good start. We started shipping those at the beginning of 2025, so about a year ago today. We shipped out about 400 bras. We called all of the customers, and we started to learn, as entrepreneurs do. And we learned that fit is more subjective than we thought, that there's a lot of personal preference involved in fit, that it's actually not as predictable as we had assumed, and that people had a lot of personal preferences when it came to colors and straps and designs. And so we took that feedback and we hired a designer. And then we started putting money into marketing because word of mouth wasn't traveling as far as we thought it would. And then we realized that we had a bit of a broken business model, and we were dumping money into tech, and we were dumping money into marketing and design, and it wasn't sustainable. At that time, we were also at Next AI, which is a great program here in Toronto. I don't know if there's any Nexters in the crowd. Woo! So that was a great program, and it really just made us think about things a bit differently. So we thought, well, what if we cut out the marketing and we cut out the design and we're just a tech company? Why don't we sell made-to-measure services to apparel companies? And so we did what entrepreneurs do next, and we called a bunch of apparel companies, and we talked to Joanna Griffiths at Knix, and we said, look, we can cut out all of your returns, and we can make each item for each person. You won't even have to hold inventory. And she said, that's nice, but I just want to grow my sales. And so we had that same conversation 100 times, and we realized that the problem that we were solving was this issue between the consumer and the retailer of this lack of data, and that conversion rates when you're shopping online are between 1% to 3%, which is really low if you think about that for a second. Not to mention the costs of ad spend being so high, and I don't know if anybody here has been following Allbirds and their pivot, but like I understand, right? D2C is really hard these days, and it's not the same as it was 10 years ago. Anyway, so that was a couple pivots. That's why that line is a circle and not a straight line, as it usually isn't. But the moment for us really came at the end of 2025. We had paid $1,500 to be at a women's show, and we had all of our bras on a table, and people came by and they picked them up, put them back down. And I turned to Jess and I said, I hate this. Like, I literally hate my life right now. I hate this moment. And we went to Staples that night, and we got a poster that said, like, scan yourself for a free style guide. And we brought some clothing for people to change into at the show, and we had 150 women scan themselves in 2 days. We didn't even have time to eat lunch. And so that was just a little experiment we did, and we decided to pull the trigger and change our business model. Has anybody seen this graphic before? No. Oh, that's okay. One person. Great. It's off of LinkedIn. I don't have a credit, but I think it's been used enough time that it's public knowledge. So a bamboo tree in its first 5 years grows its roots down before it shoots up. So 5 years versus 90 days. And I'd like to think this is a bit about us, and before I get into what our first 90 days looked like, I want to talk a little bit about why pivoting is so hard. One of the reasons is obviously you're going back to day zero, which is the hardest time as an entrepreneur. But also there's two psychological principles. My background's in consumer psychology. One of them is that you have sunk cost. So in our world, we were just about to launch underwear. We'd gone through all of the work to launch underwear, and we pulled the plug and we lost all of that work that we did. Another reason is cognitive dissonance, right? As an entrepreneur, you have to wake up every single morning and look in the mirror and say, I believe in what we're building, even when other people tell you not to. That's our job as entrepreneurs, and so you have to then wake up one day and say, I no longer believe in what we're doing. So those two reasons make things a bit harder. But yeah, so in our first 90 days, because of our first 5 years, we signed 2 contracts, and in comparison, our biggest competitor has signed 3 in 4 years. We have 1,000 users on our site. In our previous model, it took us a year just to get 500. We have 2 utility patents that we're in the process of creating, and we already have our parametric model developed and deployed. So just a bit about, how you can take, oh, thank you. And that's really because we had the insights to be able to move quickly. So my takeaways for a pivot is feedback is fuel. You need to get it every day. You need to digest it properly, and it's the most important gift. And the worst thing you can do is try to argue with who you're selling to and try to convince them to buy, because you need to be able to find a problem and the solution match. The second is to choose your challenge. So my background is from Unilever, which is B2B2C, not direct to consumer. And my co-founder is from a retail background, like as a merchandiser and a buyer. So our founder skill set is actually better aligned to this new business than it was to the old one. And the last one is act with ambiguity. I think all of us as entrepreneurs, how many founders are in the room? Yeah, I think this is what it means to be a founder, is you never have perfect information and you have to act anyway. So do an experiment, right? So like us with our little sign, and see how that goes, and then just follow that. Those would be my 3 takeaways. And our app launched 2 weeks ago, so my ask to you guys is scan this. We've only launched with women, and I think all of you know a woman, so if you can share it. If you've ever returned something and you didn't enjoy that process, or you're a founder on a tight budget and you want to shop final sale, we offer a fit code that you use when you're shopping to know exactly how each size will feel on your body. And we also give you a free denim guide to tell you what jeans to buy as an incentive to do that scan. And I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
It's mostly not a question, but a comment about getting the feedback. I believe most of the founders are here, not like a clothes, fashion, etc., etc. It's mostly digital. How to collect feedback? I know how to collect feedback, but to your opinion, how to get that right if you are not talking to your customer or they don't want to talk to you? Like one example, I'm like a language preparation app. I do not talk. Even if I write email, they never respond to me. Never. Because they do not use email. They use email like just to log into the application. And what would be your feedback? How to collect data from users?
Well, if they're not...
Who are not responding.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not on email, I would call them. And if they don't pick up the phone, I'd visit them, right? You just have to talk to customers. There's not really a way around that, and you have to talk to the people who are paying, right? So investors, that's not the feedback that you're looking for unless your product is being sold to investors and they're the customer. You have to talk to paying customers. That's why having a background where you can talk to Aritzia and Roots in the same day because your co-founder has those connections is helpful. That's where the founder solution fit comes in, but you have to find a way.
Yes, you have to find the way. Thank you, it's a good response. I appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Abbas. I've been through your journey, so I would say, when would you pivot? Like, when is there enough information, and what type of feedback will make you pivot instead of just iterate? Thank you.
Yeah, well, I would say a pivot and iteration are, I would say the difference is whether your solution needs to change. So if you've gotten to that moment, and I would do those tests, right, those little experiments, and I would say the difference between pivoting and killing your dying. Maybe cut that out of the YouTube, Jason. I would say the difference between pivoting and folding is whether you still are obsessed with the problem, right? I think the solution can change, but the problem is the same. And we didn't change our name. We changed the look and feel of our logo, but DOUBL, which was bras like a double skin, is now DOUBL, a code that creates a body double so that you can shop your body double. Yeah, thanks.
Hi, just had, it's almost two questions. One, I hope it all works out for the returns. My wife knows the UPS and Canada Post people by name because of how much she gets delivered in returns. But this requires a partnership with the actual sellers, right? To know what that actual size is. So you actually have, you're not just direct to consumer, you have to have the partnership with the manufacturers of the clothing. So are they buying it from you as well with the knowledge of your aggregate stuff? I actually looked up what you were doing. And the other partial question I have is, what do you do with the manufacturers who, like a size 8 isn't the same between their own clothes? I know that for shoes. I can go to Vessi, which is a company I love, but a 13 is not a 13, and certain brands it is. My wife knows from Aritzia, since she just brought that up when I talked to her. Yeah. A size 8 is not an 8. Some will fall off of her, some will be too tight, even though it's all from Aritzia. So it doesn't help if, you know, and you can say your measurements are, but then the manufacturer is not the quality. Like, where do you fit that in?
Yes, so we sell to clothing retailers, so they're our customer. They pay us to embed our sizing widget on their profile. They will, in the future, pay us for our forecasting tools and our supply chain tools and everything else that we can build now that we have the data of the bodies and the garments. We extract tech pack data. So we built a tool, which we call the Brand Vault, that extracts that data from tech packs. Tech packs are usually proprietary, which we learned as a manufacturer. So we cut out all of the costing, bill of materials, location, and we just take garment measurements out, and then we account for other things that we know influences how that item will fit. So like fabric composition, design intent, and those things are baked into our parametric model, which is why when you use our tool, you will actually get different size recommendations for different products. One of the other things we learned is that it fits subjective. Like, I like to have a bit of looseness in my waist because I sit a lot, so I need sitting jeans, and so I want a baggier waist, so we tell you how it will feel, not necessarily this is your fit, because it's up to you, and that's the information you would get in a fitting room. Item to item. Yeah, our fit widget won't render on a product page unless we have that garment data in our database. Yeah, thank you.